Hello there. Welcome to the first ever episode of Mark's podcast. I'm Dan. To the south of me is the prodigy, the kid himself, Jacob McGovern. Cubics. Say hello, Jacob.
What is up, everybody? Sooner or later, I will have a mic stand, so I won't be holding this microphone like a noob. But yeah.
And to my direct right, you know him, you love him. He rejected the Mountie offer. The French-Canadian nightmare, Gerard Millette.
Good evening.
What's going on, boys?
Not much.
Oh, don't start getting all fucking clammed up now,
Baseball
Gerard.
season ended today. On to the playoffs.
You talk so much shit, now you're getting clammed up because we're live?
No. I got a lot to say.
So before we start...
If I get going, you guys...
Well, that's the point. And that's how, you know what, that leads into why when we started this, okay? So, Gerard, you and I talked. Everybody knows we did an interview talking about a particular subject. We won't go into too much detail. If you want to see that, that's on the channel. We might come back to that at some point. But I had originally wanted to do a podcast. And the previous guys that I had in mind, they had other things and other ideas. And I kind of just slept on it, left it alone. I always thought about Jacob for this because Jacob and I had always wanted to work together, never had a chance. But you inspired something in me, Gerard. Your fucking love of the business that you still have after all these years and all the shit you've been through just made me go, you know what, fuck it. You know, let's do it. Let's do a fucking discussion podcast about what's really going on in wrestling, past, present, and future. You were on board, and here we are.
Definitely so, and because...
Let's see where it takes us.
Yep, this is it right here. Like, me and Dan have known each other for how many years now, Dan? It's been about, what, like 5, 6 years at this point?
It's getting there.
Yeah, so this is the first time we've done an official show together, so I'm happy about that.
Gerard?
Yep, I'm here.
Is it coming in? Am I lagging on you? Is it coming in? Am I coming in late? Or how's that? Was it working?
You have a little bit of a hesitation, yes.
Hold on, let me back you out. I'm going to back you out, Gerard, and come back in, okay? Follow the link back.
Yep.
Back out, and then come back in.
What do you mean by back up?
Like exit out, and then click back on the link and come back in. Yeah.
Pilot episode, folks. First time for everything. It's all good.
But
to answer your question, Dan, yeah, that's how I was doing. I was actually I was watching Degrassi most of the day. You know, you mentioned Canadians. I love my Canadian teen dramas. So just been doing that lately.
It shows them in the background. Hold on before I can get it back in. No, at some point we are going to talk about the Vince McMahon documentary and all the stuff in between as far as that goes. That's the whole point of this first episode.
It is.
Hey, Gerard, is that better?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, so first and foremost, no more bullshit aside, the Vince McMahon documentary that came out, right?
Yep.
All right, how are we feeling about that? Gerard, you being someone who's been involved with the business, you saw it. What did you think?
I was mildly disappointed on a lot of the subjects they covered because what did we learn in that Netflix series that we didn't already know? It was too much WWE production and not enough of Netflix going into it. If they produced it before they signed the 10-year deal, they should have went deeper into it. They should have, get in there. Get him to talk. If he doesn't want to talk, then why the hell are we paying you to be here? Why you pay, or why did he voluntarily come on? And for him to voluntarily come on and do an interview like that, that's half-assed, and he tells you right off the bat it's going to be half-assed. Vince, what are you doing? Or not? Yeah, because Vince was trying to talk about the Mr. McMahon character. If Vince wants to talk about the Mr. McMahon character, talk about it. Don't hide or shy away from it. Tell us why you made decisions about things that you were doing. Now, mind you, to be fair to him, I don't care to know about the father, the husband, the grandfather. That's his personal life. But the life that you want to put in front of the public, come out and talk about it. Talk about it more. And that was one of the most disappointing parts of it to me, is that he didn't talk about more about why he made a lot of decisions that was made, his working with the wrestlers. Keep the personal stuff aside. Talk more about your business. That to me, that's what I needed to see more of. And it didn't go down a lot of that route, and it should have. Shut up the critics who talk to you or talk about you. Tell them, hey, we did this because of A, B, and C. That's what we wanted to go with. And don't hide the listen. You told people when kayfabe ended. You told them it. You said the thing with Shawn Michaels, Triple H, Kevin Nash, and Scott Hall. You said, hey, kayfabe ended there. That was 27 years ago, give or take. You're talking 2024. That happened in 1996. Talk more openly. Talk about your decisions that made you want to do stuff. Don't give people that ability to have the negative reaction on you. Get out in front of those negative reactions.
Yeah, but he's never been good at that. Like, I mean, look at the Donahue fucking interview. Look at all the other shit that's gone on. He was never great about that. It was always an ego thing for him to come out and start talking about that. I disagree with you on one part. I want to know about the family side of it. I want to know about Shane and Stephanie. And that's the part that really got me. And I'm going to get to you in a second, Jacob, as far as like your critique on that. But
oh no, you're totally fine.
What bothered me the most is you want to get ahead of this shit of you being a piece of garbage and people hating your guts and all this negative connotation with you, but yet the story that stuck with me the most. Paul Heyman, who I would fucking, like I told my wife the other day, he could read my cereal box and make it fucking perfect. Paul Heyman said a story about how he was eating dinner and Shane was there and he was arguing with Shane and Shane wanted something so badly. And he said, that's never going to happen over my dead body. Picked up the knife that he was using while he was eating, pulled his shirt down and said, stab me right here. Plunged the dagger into my chest. That's the only way you're going to get what you want. And if you don't do it, I'm going to seriously have to think about that because you're too weak to take what you want. What the fuck kind of father is that? And
the alpha male, bro. He's an alpha.
But that's disgusting. And then you as a son, all you want, like I can feel for Shane so fucking much.
Yeah.
Let me ask you.
Go ahead.
Was it business or personal?
Okay, fuck business.
No, that's what I'm saying. Was it business or personal?
I think for Shane, it absolutely is, and for Vince is. You're talking about a guy who's in kayfabe 24/7, and the sad part about that is, people want to blame the curtain call and all that, but Vince is the one who exposed the business and exposed kayfabe in the first place.
And he ruined wrestling that way. I'm sorry, I'll be maybe in the minority, but I feel like he ruined there was something to be said about the mystique of kayfabe. These are larger than life fucking heroes, and because you wanted to save your fucking ass, because you don't want to pay an extra little bit of money, because people would think it's no longer a sport because it's theatrical, you go and destroy kayfabe, so you make these titans, no pun intended, of men look fucking humbled and reeled.
Well, if you guys both want to put it like this, up until Dwayne Johnson, tell me one guy who he created from scratch.
Repo Man.
No, because he was smashed in demolition.
I was gonna say Bastion Booger, but I don't know.
But right. He said,
Hakeem the African Dream.
Yes, the African.
No, he was a one-man game. I'm saying a guy he created from scratch. He didn't take from a territory or nothing like that. He created from scratch. The first one was Dwayne Johnson. He owned the company for 15 years. Everybody else he inherited. Now, mind you, he was a master of getting the best out of people. This is the spot we got for you, also known as Undertaker. Okay, this is what I got.
Well, but before he was Mean Mark in the territories,
right?
And he was Skyscraper, but the character, the Undertaker, was a Vince McMahon creation.
Yep,
and that's what I'm saying. But the person wasn't, because he was already in another territory. I'm saying the first guy he actually got a hold of, where he made a superstar without not going anywhere else, was Dwayne Johnson. So to consider him the mastermind of creating characters.
No, because he stole, hell, everybody knows how much he stole from Vern. And I'm not
gotta,
saying Vern is...
You got to give Jinder Mahal some credit here. I think Jinder Mahal's up there as far as the... I'll
modern day Maharaja.
But I'm just saying is, though, back in those days, people, Vince did this, Vince did that. All he did was inherit other guys from other companies and
Agreed. And I can't argue with that, because if you look at, like I said,
right there.
A lot of people, right there, you're perfect.
Right
Kurt Hennig was that guy in AWA, right? Like him and his dad, fucking Larry the Axe Hennig, a brutalizer in the fucking AWA. All like Flair went to fucking NWA. Hogan was already a package deal in AWA. Everybody was all American Hulk Hogan, and after his movie came out when he was in fucking,
if Rocky 3 doesn't come out at the same time, they admitted it. Vince admitted himself. He's hot right now because of Rocky 3.
Thunderlips.
I need
the ultimate man.
Right. I need to capitalize on him right now. He couldn't wait. And what did he do? What was his first entrance music? Eye of the Tiger. He came out. Now everybody hated the Sheik. Iron Sheik, everybody hated him. Yeah. So he jumped on it. Could anybody ever predicted how the next 4 years was going to go? Never. Now,
so Bruno was gone, right? And Bruno was their guy. Bruno was the man. Bruno was selling it out for years. And when Bruno was gone, they need a replacement for Bruno. And that's what they end up falling into Hulk Hogan. And it worked for years. Look, I'm not the biggest Hulk Hogan mark, like a lot of people. No pun intended, the title of the fucking podcast. Not a big Hulk Hogan fan. But I'll never deny his accolades of being one of the top sellers of all time. He was the shit. Hulk Hogan was beloved, But
in Hulk's own defense, he would tell you he couldn't wrestle his way out of a wet paper bag, but he had charisma. His charisma, I don't think, was matched until Cena, and that's that. That's the connect with the crowd and tell the story in the ring. The way Hogan could do it, he could captivate you and stuff like that. He could draw you in. And all you gotta do is go back and look at WrestleMania 18.
But would you deny? Would you deny fucking Steve Austin? I would argue that Steve Austin was taking it places that Hogan never could.
Very true.
The thing about I'm saying to you is like this: Hogan, even when he wrestled The Rock, I don't know if Austin could have captivated the crowd like that for as long, because Austin did it for 5 years. Hogan did it for what, 20?
Yeah,
a lot of your top name guys came up, went down, came up. Cena, 20 years. Hogan lasted a long time.
Would you really consider Cena because that was a time period where people really hated the fucking product?
Put it this way, you guys saw it. If Cena doesn't do the rap thing, his career's over. Yeah. But he gave people. He's like, wait a minute. He put something into it that people could actually get behind.
Well, and a lot of people forget, like, around that time, like, had Brock Lesnar stayed, it would have been completely because around that time is when Cena started doing the rap gimmick, and then Brock Lesnar. That's right when Brock left, and had Brock stayed, he would have been in Cena's spot, no doubt. But
for how long, though?
That's also true.
For how long?
Yeah, but see, I think I'm one of the people who thinks that Brock needed to leave because Brock needed to freshen up. Because, like granted, in that first Brock run, what do you remember the most? Like, I remember Undertaker, him, Hell in the Cell, one of the bloodiest fucking matches I've ever seen. But most people, most people will remember the fucking.
I have to preface this by during Brock's run, I was 2 years old at the time, probably. So I was born in 2000.
Generations of this motherfucker right here. But that's what I'm saying. Like,
you guys are talking about Hulk Hogan and all that shit. It's like I was in my dad's balls around that time.
No, you weren't. No, you weren't.
But to be fair, I want to clarify something. He says that, but this fucker's a little savant because one of my favorite conversations I have with people about him is I'm sitting here talking to people about AAA, and everybody looks at me like I'm crazy, and I talk about Art Barr. Yeah, he did that really cool frog splash, and I'm like, how the fuck old are you? How do you know who fuck Art Barr is? How do you know about Eddie Guerrero and Art Barr being the anti-Mexico? What the fuck, Jacob? And he just goes into detail knowing about fucking
Times.
Listen, besides Sid's leg break, Eddie Guerrero had to have the worst in-ring injury.
That fucking forearm pop out.
Oh, first move. The first move you do.
Finish the match. Or finish the whole fucking scene. Never bitched about it, nothing. I mean... And
I'm kind of upset they didn't talk about that in his A&E documentary. They didn't touch on that at all.
Okay, so it goes back to shit like, okay, we're talking about the Vince McMahon documentary. Let's bring it back to that.
Tangents, people. That's what it's all about.
But it goes back to what you're saying. You're never going to be satisfied with the shit, you know. And on this channel, and I don't, you know, I hate, my wife and I talk about it. I hate bringing up our shit in comparison, but I felt like we did a better job with ours because we weren't afraid to go to those dark places where they barely touched on the Ashley Mazzaro shit, which is a big fucking deal. I don't care what anybody says. They barely touched on this Jimmy Superfly Snuka and what happened in that hotel room and the 6 fucking police officers.
They didn't ask him a damn thing about that. I was surprised. I was like,
and then they talked about Vince going into the fucking police station with a suitcase and leaving without a suitcase, and all of a sudden Jimmy's, you know, and then years later he does get convicted, but he's not, or he gets arraigned and they're going to go to trial, but he's not medically able to. And, you know, and Gerard, you were around back that time. I mean, do you have any insight as far as that goes?
So put it like this. My very first match of ever watching on WWF programming was Jimmy Snuka getting destroyed by Ray the Crippler Stevens and Lou Albano. Okay. The next week he comes out, he has Buddy Rogers in his corner and stuff. Like, yeah, that's 1982 if I'm right. And then I got to work with the guy, and he was another one of those guys where, I got to work with him, but that lasted about 10 minutes because of it's like, oh God. I mean, his brain. He always came across as a grown child to me. Okay, the way his persona was about it, great look and stuff like that. He just came across as a grown child. I don't think he had the mental capacity when I met him, which was like late 90. So I don't believe he had mental capacity back then, but he kept going on. He was not, like I said, he was not a rocket scientist by any way, shape, or form. But in Jimmy's credit, he could still perform at that time. But he had stopped he stopped going out barefoot and stopped putting on the boots. And I got to WrestleMania 7, him and Undertaker. Other than that, and once I left, I would work a couple. I worked a couple of independent shows with him, and it was like he was just living off the name. He couldn't get in the ring and do much. The promoters asked him to do the Superfly Splash. It was a half-ass Superfly Splash, and that was it.
Let me ask you this. Do you think he was one of the first guys that was suffering from the CTE shit?
No, I think he was more suffering of the weed shit.
Well, here's my question, Gerard. Like, was it ever known back then? Like, was it ever was it ever a talk in between people about the Nancy Argentino stuff? Like, was that ever talked about back then when it happened, or
the stuff anything that you hear in the outside world, that stuff never got talked about around the locker room and stuff like that. Never. Remember, guys back then, because the internet killed professional wrestling. Okay, internet killed it. There's a lot of stuff that you guys would agree that if we never knew the backstory to it, we wouldn't, we wouldn't care. But knowing the backstory now because of the internet and all that stuff, the business as you know it is not what I grew up with. It's probably not what Dan first started watching either. You've always known this form of it. Yeah, that's what, you've always known the wrestling by the internet. We didn't know it by the internet growing up. You had to wait for Howard Finkel's voice to come on television and tell you where the show was going to be in a couple weeks. And it's like, I can go watch it live or something like that. Or you had to watch Saturday mornings. Now, Dan might have just been coming around right when Raw started.
Well, see, and like when I started watching again, I talked about it before. I can remember being a 4-year-old. I know this is going to sound crazy, walking into the sportatorium with my dad. Like that smell, and I think I told you off air. There was a knockoff Ninja Turtle character. I think the Missing Link might have still been there at the time. I mean, we're talking years ago. And then we kind of got out of wrestling because my mom thought it was dumb. I want to say, and then my dad got me back into it. And the first televised match I remember watching years after that would have had to be that I can remember would be The Undertaker and Mankind in the Boiler Room Brawl, which I told you about that, how emotional as kids we got. But the one that sticks out the most going back, and again, right before we came on the air, we were talking about this and how kayfabe being dead ruined future for me. Sting coming back to a match. His ribs are taped up. He was in WCW, and he was facing Ravishing Rick Rude, and he lost the belt to Ravishing Rick Rude. And me as a kid watching that blonde flat top hero surfer Sting lose, he couldn't lose. He's Sting. How could Sting lose to this fucking asshole? And my dad telling me it's sometimes bad guys win, but don't worry, Sting's going to come back. Sting's going to be better. But to watch that as a kid, compared to what Jacob you're probably experienced, because you grew up in the Cena era and all that. We didn't have the internet to go back and find out, well, what happened next, and is Sting going to be okay? All we had is that pay-per-view that night. Our hero just got beat. We have to go to sleep, go to school the next morning, and talk to our friends. Man, Sting got beat. We don't know. And then wait for whatever WCW Monday night, whatever, to get us back to tell us what's going to happen next. Or next Saturday, Saturday whatever main event was going to be on Saturday night. We had to wait an entire week to get our fill of wrestling.
Yeah, see, like for me, I'm kind of in a weird spot because I didn't really know that the wrestling dirt sheets and all that stuff really existed until I was I started making videos on YouTube. Really is when I for me, I remember when Great Khali crushed Rey Mysterio's skull in, and he was bleeding, and I was 6 years old at the time, and I was I thought Rey Mysterio died right then and there, and then my dad told me, was yeah, no, Mysterio might be dead. You might have to watch next week.
I love your dad for that. I love your dad.
My dad always kept kayfabe with me, so I don't,
you gotta be the only person on any wrestling podcast that ever brings up the Great Khali.
Oh yeah, no, I remember I was traumatized as a child. I thought Rey Mysterio was dead right then and there. And then when Rey Mysterio won that feud later on, then that's when I kind of started to question kayfabe a little bit. I was like, wait a minute. But yeah, no, for me,
he thought the Mexicals were real gardeners.
I really did. Yeah, no, I really thought they were dry. They just drove those lawnmowers for fun. No, yeah, no, kayfabe is definitely it's a thing that sometimes it's there, but it's not really, because sometimes there's something that'll get you every now and then. Maybe, everyone knows it's fake, but sometimes every now and then there's something that'll be like, oh shit, that was good. My suspension of disbelief was a little bit gone there. At least for me, I don't know, but it's been a long time.
I got smartened up to the business. I was in Honolulu, Hawaii, and the boys had just come in from doing a show in Guam, and Hawk's forehead was all busted open. I'm like, dude, what happened to your head? And no sooner had somebody said that I said it, I think I got smacked in the back of the head. Did I just freeze up? No sooner had I said it, somebody smacked me in the back of the head, and that's when I got smartened up to the business right then and there.
But see, you got to experience some shit that none of us, we were talking before about how the fucking Road Warriors try to drop their spikes on you to fuck with you and shit.
I'll tell you, and it didn't start at first, but they would hand them to me. But then as they started to get to know me, then those things. So they went from just putting them on the ring apron to just dropping them and seeing if I could catch them. Oh.
See, in this day and age, you would complain, and you would say that's bullying, or.
No. Oh, listen. Like I said, I've told people, you don't want to be one of the boys. You let the boys accept you. Because if you try and do it the other way around, you'll never get accepted, and they will pick on you and stuff like that. Let them accept you. Let them realize you're there doing a job.
A great example of that really is I mean, you know, reality TV is reality TV, but I've been recently watching Legends House on Peacock, you know, back, you know, what's really sad about Legends House is half the people are dead, but so there's a scene where Howard Finkel, like they're going in a limo and Howard Finkel sits in one of the spots. And like, you know, Roddy Piper gets pissed off and he's like, "You're not one of the boys. You can't sit in the house, you know, in the front of the seat." Like stuff like, you know, it's like they still have that mentality, like even then, you know. It's like he's like, "You're an announcer. You're not one of the boys."
Speaking of that stuff, Gerard, let me ask you this: you have experienced both sides of it, right? You've seen the internet side. I mean, hell, you're still a fan to this day. We've talked about that. Would you miss the fact that kayfabe was around? Do you think it should have stayed around?
Absolutely. Put it this way. I think the fans would enjoy the kayfabe aspect of wrestling today instead of finding out everything on the internet.
Yeah.
Because it's the ultimate surprises. Because on the internet you can find, this person's in the back. So when they show up, it's not a surprise.
But there was also a time when it was loose lips sink ships, so man. Like, you know, you can't have kayfabe anymore because nobody in the back's going to keep their fucking mouth shut.
It's like you said. Well, exactly right, Dan. And the thing is, it's the name of this podcast. You know, the business now is full of marks. You know, and a lot of people they'll work backstage. And there was that whole thing in AEW where that one guy from NXT was leaking stories to NXT. I forget what the guy was. I don't know. I think he's dating Mandy Rose or something. But
AEW's owner is a mark.
Yeah, it's like it's all full of marks these days.
Again, we started out with the fucking Vince McMahon thing, and you know we'll get back to that. But let me ask y'all about that. As far as like AEW, I think the in-ring product in AEW is a lot better because it's more tailored to. You never know what's going to happen. As far like I watched Will Ospreay in a tag team match recently, and I'm not the biggest Young Bucks fan, but wow, I thought that was fucking awesome. You know, sometimes I like a little fucking like catch as catch can, fucking hold for hold. Sometimes I like that flippy dippy mark shit. All right, fuck you, Jacob. I see you shaking your fucking head, and I know you don't like it, but man, you can't tell me that's not fucking.
Bucks are horrible.
Leo Rush doing some. I don't like the.
I love Leo Rush though. I'll never talk bad about
Leo Rush. I love the like watching fucking Malachi Black, Buddy Murphy, and fucking Brody King brutalize fucking people, and. I just think it's in-ring better. I'm one of those people that think Bryan Danielson is probably one of the greatest, if not the greatest in-ring performer I've ever seen. He can adapt to every style. Do their storylines need work? Fuck yeah. I need a little more fucking understanding of why Jon Moxley is choking a motherfucker Terry Funk style with a plastic bag. I would like to know what the fuck's going on. You know, I don't need to see why. I don't need Wheeler Yuta fucking crying and bitching and moaning on a C show like Rampage. We don't know what the fuck's going on. You know, like if you're gonna have storylines, put them on your main fucking program. I think.
Yeah. So here's the problem, man. You have someone who's booking the show like he has action figures in his play ring, and it's like, and it's very like the in ring work is great, man. But like, great. I say great with a slight tinge, but. Man, it's just the Young Bucks, the Elite. It's terrible. I'd rather have Kenny Omega on my TV right now, and that's
I love Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega, like, look, best bout machine, 100%.
I'll put it like this. Here's my opinion on AEW. Okay, so I've been to one Collision. I've been to one Dynamite. All right, and what I get is this: in every pay-per-view I've ever watched from there, if you miss the first match. If you miss the third match, if you miss the fifth match, you didn't miss much because it's the same match every match. It's just different. It's different players. It's like a card game where people get up in Vegas. It's a card game. They get up. One person gets up and leave. Another one sits back down. It's the same hand. No matter what match you see.
I don't like agreeing with you, fucking Gerard. I don't. But we went to a show out here. It was Battle of the Belts, something like that. It was an excellent show. I'm not going to sit here and lie. We were close to front row. It was. I'll say they put on a great show, but yeah, like there was a lot of the same shit, flippy dippy shit, and
it was the main event.
fuck. I think it was the Dark Order against somebody.
Exactly. You don't remember because it doesn't matter. None of it matters. It doesn't fucking matter. It's all terrible. I've gone to 2 Dynamites, all right? I've gone to 2
there's a comment
Dynamites.
in the comment section right now that really was something I wanted to get to, and I'm glad it was brought up. And I think, bringing it back to the Vince documentary and me talking about Shane and Shane needing to have his own legacy and him leaving and coming back. What do you two think about the idea of Shane going to AEW? And I'll let y'all get y'all's opinions, and then I'll speak on mine. Jacob, go ahead.
I honestly, I'm not surprised at all. And a lot of people are saying that, which is kind of telling because, like, even, like, industry, they've been saying, oh, it's not surprising that Shane's going to AEW. Because Shane always, if you've listened to Dirt Sheets and all this stuff about, like, him having ideas, and he's always been like the fantastical one in terms of like the ideas with the McMahons, like he wanted to book himself to win the Royal Rumble apparently a couple years back.
I don't believe that, but yeah.
Shit like that. So there's always this weird like thing with Shane, like he's the creative one, he's not the creative one. He wants to be in the business, he doesn't want to be in the business. And I think Shane coming to AEW is probably inevitable, but the problem is that Shane coming in as with his name, with the McMahon name, is automatically going to be a black mark for AEW. I think at least because they're trying to do TV deals right now, and I'm not sure what kind of communication Shane has with Vince at the moment, but I don't know. Like, is this like a secret way of Vince trying to get back in with Shane, or is this kind of a, maybe Vince is feeding through Shane? I don't know, because apparently they've totally iced Vince out as far as TKO goes. So I don't know, because with Shane coming in, because is he going to wrestle? I don't know. I could see them doing Shane versus Darby Allin. Like that'd be I could totally see them doing that. But it's something I'm not surprised by, but it's definitely weird because I don't think it's going to be this big ratings draw like some people think it's going to be. Because
I'm not thinking about ratings, but I see where you're going.
Well, because I think they're trying to go for like a big shock, and like I don't know what this is.
I think I know what you're thinking, and I have a completely different mindset on it. But I want to get to that in a second. Gerard, what are your thoughts about Shane possibly coming to AEW?
All right. Before I get to that, I'm going to say this. I first met Shane when I was 15, 16 years old in Manchester, New Hampshire. Then I got to work with him on the road. I still recall the time in Augusta, Maine, where he met a lady, went back to the hotel room because he's in the room next to us, and he broke the bed. I don't know what he did in the room, but he broke the bed. The last time I saw Shane was the day that I bring the ring down that I used to have, for them to remake it into what they own, what they use now. They took the design off the one I had and remade them. Shane going to AEW to me would be like Derek Jeter going from the Yankees to the Red Sox. Do I believe the speculation's out there just to get it out there because that's what Tony Khan wants to make people believe? It's only good for AEW if Tony Khan steps away. If Tony Khan doesn't step away, he'll have great ratings for 3 weeks. And it's just like every other big signing, he might as well, the Shane should not even be around. Tony Khan, you get the biggest free agent signing in Shane McMahon that you could ever have. Cut him the checkbook, a la Eric Bischoff, Ted Turner, step back and watch it go. Get your hands out of it and tell the Young Bucks, go fuck yourself. He's in charge, and that's it. If you don't like it, I'll rip up your contracts right now. Hit the door.
Ultimately, I agree with you. This is what I was getting at. And to Jacob's point, I think you're seeing him as maybe coming in as in-ring talent, and that would be great, whatever, for one pop. Shane's never going to be a full-time wrestler. He's too old to do it, but that mind is something that is precious. So you can say what you want, but Shane has a mind for the business. I'm not going to say he's Pat. I'm not going to say that he's a booker. I'm not going to say he has the mind of a Bobby Heenan or a Paul Heyman, but the man knows fucking wrestling. It's in his blood. Do I think it's a back?
Better than fucking Tony Khan, I would think.
Well, yeah,
Better than Tony Khan, I would think.
But what I'm saying is he's not his father, and I think that for me, I think as far as Vince goes, I think Shane will always love his father, but he's not stupid enough to integrate his father into another company. I think that would be the biggest mistake he could ever make. What I do believe wholeheartedly is that if you bring Shane in, it should be in a booker's capacity. Let the man run your company.
Give him ROH, dude. Just give him ROH. That's what I would do.
And that's fine. You can turn ROH into your NXT version of NXT. That's great, whatever. But what I'm saying is use him in the capacity that he can make you some money. Shane doesn't need to be fucking battling with Tony Khan on screen, which I'm kind of terrified of, because if this Moxley fucking thing going on is going to be Shane coming in, then I'm going to be worried, because then they're going to turn this into Khan versus McMahon. I don't want to, look, I'm not going to lie and say it's not interesting. Yeah, that would be for 3 weeks. But then
all his storylines last for 3 weeks.
It's not interesting now.
That's it. Put it this way: Mercedes Moné. I read something today. She wants to be the highest paid female wrestler ever. Why? You can't talk your way out of a wet paper bag.
She can't fucking wrestle.
Can't work either. Can't work. Can't talk.
Look, you know what? I'm going to put to rest everything about the Mercedes Moné thing. Everybody thinks that I might like Mercedes Moné. I've said it before. Here's a fucking deal. She's a hell of a good-looking woman. Seems like a nice enough person, whatever it may be. Couldn't wrestle her. Well, how does it? What's his name say? Fucking
a wet paper bag.
No. What did they used to say about Jarrett? Broke 15,000 fucking guitars. Never drew a dime. I'm sorry, she can't wrestle, in my opinion. The best matches she ever had in her career were both against Bayley. One was in fucking Brooklyn, New York, when Bayley fucking was the overest fucking face you could ever see. I remember her being dressed as fucking Dusty Rhodes, and you cried because it was fucking beautiful. It was her homecoming. It was a moment for fucking Bayley. The second match that I ever thought that Mercedes Moné at the time Sasha Banks ever had was in Hell in the Cell. They did a role reversal where fucking she was the face and Bayley was the heel, and Bayley got it over for being an excellent heel. Don't tell me that this girl is worth all this money. You know who's worth that money? Julia, fucking that new Hispanic chick coming over to NXT. Fucking the Prodigy, Roxanne Perez. Those are fucking female talents that you need to keep your eye on.
The saddest thing about Mercedes is Mercedes. Everything about Mercedes is terrible. It always has been. She's always been carried to her best matches. Charlotte Flair has carried her to a great match, and I fucking hate Charlotte Flair.
But you can't deny Charlotte's ability in the ring. I'm sorry, she is her father.
I love Rick with tits is great, but Mercedes
Rick with tits is great.
Rick with tits is great, but Mercedes is like she. Man, here's the thing with Mercedes, man. Like, I have to believe that part of this is gimmick, because I can't believe that she wants to be this unlikable on purpose. Because when she comes out and makes these interviews, I deserve to be the highest paid women wrestler of all time. And it's like, for why?
You know who deserves to be a better paid wrestler? Fucking Jamie Hayter. And the match she had with Saraya, and that Saraya rules match, Jamie Hayter is a beast.
Mercedes broke Saraya's neck.
Look, I don't hold that against her. Shit happens in the ring, all right? Shit happens. I'm not going to fault her for that. Saraya Bevis, better known in WWE as Paige, one of the fucking best in ring, and can talk, motherfucker, can talk. I mean, she's a badass, deserves better. Hikaru Shida.
Hey, she can do other things besides talk, though.
Shut the fuck up, Gerard.
I was gonna make a joke too. I was leaning towards Xavier Woods. I'm like, Xavier Woods is favorite. I was gonna make a joke first, damn it.
But no, like, if you look at Jamie Hayter, Saraya Bevis, fucking Hikaru Shida, who got a Raw deal because she was a champion during the COVID era. I mean, fucking Riho, for as tiny as she is,
Thunder
may
Rosa.
not like her. Who?
Where's Thunder Rosa at?
See, that's another problem. Thunder Rosa, for me, is another. She can wrestle, but she's another version of Mercedes Moné. I always got something to fucking say, but you haven't.
You bite your tongue, good sir. Don't blaspheme Thunder Rosa. No, Thunder Rosa's great. It's all Britt Baker's fault that she's not there right now. Britt Baker sucks. Dude, when they announced Britt Baker versus Mercedes, it was like, okay, do you want to get kicked in the balls, or do you want to get kicked in the teeth really hard? It's like, what do you want for watching that match? I'm sorry, I don't like both those females. I'm sorry, I went off on a tangent.
I had the pleasure of working with both Sherry Martel and Joni Laurer. I had the pleasure of working with both of them. Okay.
China, for those of you fucking intelligent pieces of shit.
So, Joni, when people talk about her, she worked at her craft. She wanted to be one of the guys. She did not want to just have, hey, I'm a woman and cater to me because I'm no. She legitimately wanted to get in there because it's like she looked at the wrestling business as equals. She wanted to be in there and treated like an equal. Now, mind you, when she first came in, her unique look, okay, she was Jade Cargill when she first started. Okay, $1 million look. When she swinging around Terry Reynolds and stuff like that, that was awesome. But she could not wrestle at that point. But she worked hard at her craft to not only get accepted by the boys, to get accepted by the fans, just because of her unique look. Today, the women all go out there with all these looks and stuff like that. And, this Tiff Stratton girl, she has $1 million look, but she can actually work in the ring.
And that's what I was going to get into. I love her because she is... Let's go back, right? Let's move one above China, because I think China came in before, and then you had Trish and Lita, and that's a great combination. And then Ashley Mazzaro was someone who I loved because she was a combination of the two of them, but she was still trying to learn her craft before all that shit happened with her. If you look at somebody like Stratton, Tiffany Stratton, that woman looks like $1 million, but damn, she can fucking work. That prettiest moonsault ever? Fuck.
The only thing wrong with Tiffy is her microphone. Her microphone work could be a little bit better.
Yeah.
But she can back up her Tiffany Stratton, to me, is Bret Hart. Bret Hart could back up a lot of what he said on the mic in the ring. Wasn't the greatest talker, though.
That's a hell of a claim, though, man, because I'm not going to sit there and call her the excellence of execution.
No. I'm saying is to go down the road of where she could be going down. She could go down as one of the best in-ring female performers if she can put the mic work to go with her in-ring ability. That'd be awesome.
I wouldn't say unfortunate's the word, but the weird thing about that is the best people to come out of NXT in recent times has been the women's division. Like there hasn't really been a real breakout star from NXT in quite a while. I mean, shit. What does anyone think? Fucking Tony D'Angelo's gonna be a great star?
Shut your mouth when you talk about Tony D. All right,
fuck Tony D. Man. Tony D sucks.
Watch your mouth when you talk about Tony D'Angelo. All right,
dude.
Wait till she becomes a babyface.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be great.
I've seen some of the stuff. Granted, going back to the internet kayfabe being dead, I've seen some of the stuff she's done with those young girls that are her big fans. I love that shit. Watching her fucking she takes photos and signs her signs, and like she's gonna fucking kill it. In as far as being a fucking babyface, she's gonna fucking just blow up.
Yep. Listen, I've told you the best stories about wrestling come when it's actual real stuff, because that's what the fans. You're living a personality in the ring, but when you like John Cena and his Make-A-Wish stuff, like that's incredible to somebody who's sick and stuff like that. To have these stories of what you hear about in the back. I once saw DiBiase hand a kid $100 on a Make-A-Wish. This is when he was a heel, but the kid came up in a wheelchair and stuff like that. He took $100 bills and here you go. That you don't hear about that kind of stuff because he was a heel.
Well, we're talking about heels. Let's talk about heels. Maxwell Jacob Friedman.
The injury has killed him.
I agree with you. I agree with you.
He killed himself. He killed himself when he went on that press conference when he had that. I don't know, something happened with his knee, and he was with Adam Cole, and he was eating pickles at that press conference, and he was crying, and it was just that killed his whole momentum. That killed his whole gimmick.
I wasn't going to get to the gimmick thing. I was going to get into the whole thing. Like there have been videos of him out there flipping off a 10-year-old. He told a paraplegic kid who said something smart-ass to him, well, look, I can do this, and he stood up out of his chair, playing the heel the entire time. Do you think there's still room for that? Or
he's great. He's great at that. He was great at that. I think where he messed up is he played too much into the internet audience, you know. And CM Punk said the same thing, but this is wise because MJF, you know, he was at his peak during his heel run,
Yes.
and then now he's just, I don't know what happened. I think I don't know. I think Daniel Garcia has a lot to do with it. But I don't know. I think it's something to him. Getting a tattoo of AEW has a lot to do with it.
What killed him? I'm going to tell you how it killed him. He goes out for an injury. What happened to his mouth? CM Punk gets re-signed, can't wrestle, and what did you see him do every week or every other week? Yeah, a la Steve Austin. He gets brought into ECW. He gets brought into ECW. Paul Heyman says, "Well, he goes, I can't wrestle. But can you talk?"
Damn, Paul, I can't talk. My knee's hurt. I can't talk. What's
My knee's busted.
Just got injured.
And look at how Steve got off because of that. They should have had MJF just grab a mic every week while he was recovering. You could have done some backstage segments so he doesn't have to come out to the crowd every week. Keep him on the air, keep him fresh so people miss him.
They proceeded to fire me over the phone.
But this is the problem I have, okay? But there are some people in this business, again, I'm a mark. That's the whole point of the fucking podcast is that I'm a mark. We're all marks to some degree. But I've always believed that there are some people in this fucking business that cannot be faces. They just can't. And it doesn't work for them. It doesn't gel with them. It's just who they are. Perfect example. One of my first favorites of all time. People loved Hogan, great. People loved Warrior, great. People liked Brett, great. And I'll just say every one of them had their fucking talents. Jake the Snake fucking Roberts was my guy. That motherfucker was the best heel I'd ever seen. From biting Macho Man with a Cobra to putting fucking
I worked with him.
Just fucking DDTing fucking Steamboat, and you really believed he was hurt. That DDT was so important back then because it was a one-hit kill. He would swing that finger like this, drop you on your fucking head, and the fucking promos he cut. My favorite line: "You're a sick man, Jake Roberts." Yes, I am. He goes.
Well, my favorite is Heroes of Wrestling. You want to play 21? I'll give you 20.
Really?
So I actually had the pleasure of working with Jake, and the night where Savage got bit by the Cobra, they bring the snake back into the bag. Now I'm there with the bag for him to drop the snake back in the bag. Hawk and Animal come up behind me. I don't know they're there. Go, he's trying to drop a Cobra in the damn bag. Now, I thought I soiled my pants, but Jake is trying to put the snake in, and so I got to work with Damien and I got to work with the Cobra. And give me the Python any day of the week. Give me that damn working with the Cobra. I don't give a crap if it was D-Venom or not. Oh, yeah, it's still a Cobra. But he was a very methodical man in everything he did.
I always lean towards the psychological characters, and we went from, like I said, we started us on Vince, and this is what this podcast is going to be about. Where a bunch of fucking marks are going to go off in a tangent. It's just what it is. You don't like it? There's 100,000 fucking places you can go. But as far as the methodical fucking wrestlers, Jake just spoke to me in a way that nobody else did. And
do you trust me? Do you trust me?
Yeah. I'm cruel. I'm cruel, but fair.
When he did that stuff with Warrior, the stuff he did with Warrior,
yes,
right.
But after Jake, for me, it was 1996. I was 11 years old. It was my birthday. If you haven't seen the fucking interview on this channel, you should go back and look to it. He's by far one of the most diabolical minds of this business, but one of the most underrated minds of this business. Some people know him as Scott Levy. I knew him then as Raven. What he did in ECW with the cult, and literally, you stole a man's wife and son from him. You crucified a man in the middle of the ring, and people, they hated him. There was no love. He was a heel that you just could not love. And in this day and age, that is something that is almost impossible because you have your anti-hero fans who love a bad guy. But I thought he was the worst of the worst, and I was just enthralled in this motherfucker. And
You know,
then
and you're never really going to have as good as a feud as, Tommy Dreamer and Raven.
it was amazing. And that, when he went to WCW,
it's still going on now. Like you could still fucking you could do an event.
Parking lot in fucking Pennsylvania.
Yeah, it's like you could do an event in the middle of Philadelphia and just market it Tommy Dreamer versus
Even
Raven.
at Raven's fucking Hall of Fame into TNA, he DDT'd Tommy Dreamer.
Oh yeah, well, and Tommy Dreamer's what? He's only beaten Raven like twice. Yeah, yeah, it's like he always loses.
The thing that I found beautiful about him is that his look. He was the anti whatever. Like he was wearing jean shorts and fucking flannel and going out there. He made a DDT relevant again in WCW. I think WCW ruined him by trying to make him the rich kid shit, whatever. He went to WCW or went to WWE. That was great. I felt like they fucked him. I know it
was Raven Night Heat for a little bit there. There was like if you go watch those episodes of Sunday Night Heat,
the Seven Deadly Sins. The Seven Deadly Sins was a great fucking gimmick. But even Raven talking to him, he felt like somebody had an axe to grind. And like I know that a lot of wrestlers do feel like somebody had an axe to grind as far as they go, but I believe it with him. He went to TNA, did some amazing work there. But, transitioning from being that psychological character, then all of a sudden you have a young Wyndham Rotunda, the son of IRS. And, he played Husky Harris for a while there, but he didn't, for me, that psychological character, that bad guy, for me, Bray Wyatt in NXT, where he had Eli Cottonwood at first. Let me tell you a little story about little old Bray Wyatt. My father was...
Remember Eli Cottonwood and the mustache promo?
Yes.
Remember the mustache? I don't have a mustache, but my mustache is the best mustache in all of the land. Some men have a mustache, and when you have a mustache, this is a real thing that was on TV.
But see,
like people,
and
you know what's? Hold on, Dan. Before you say anything, that had more ratings than Dynamite does now. And that's so sad.
Get over that shit.
Hey,
Go ahead, George.
So some people might think we're getting off the subject of Vince. If you think about it like this, all we're talking about is psychology. In Vince, in this documentary, there's a lot of psychology talked about that he hides. He hides a lot of it. He doesn't talk about a lot of it. And so when we're talking about how other guys had that psychology, how much of that psychology, especially somebody like Jake, was actually Vince with the psychology. Hey, do this. Go here. No. Between Vince and Pat, this is where we want you to go. We're going to put you on this road as a guideline. How you get down that road is go figure out something that you want to do and say. Go work it out, because this is before everything was scripted. Go work out and come back to us in 15 minutes how you're going to go down that road. So he could go out there, do it, and get down that road. Because remember, the thing that backed Jacob, not only was his mic work great, his in-ring work was phenomenal.
He knew how. Okay, so when you talk about work rate, I'm glad you brought that there, because when we talk about work rate, he was somebody that knew how to slow the pace down. I'm not talking chin locks and sleeper holds. I'm talking methodically pacing. And
honestly, another great one at that.
Go ahead.
Another great one at that, like being methodical, is Nick Bockwinkel. A lot of that.
Nick, man, that motherfucker was bad.
Dude, a lot of that is lost in the art of promo cutting, and especially nowadays. Like when, CM Punk, a great example. He just cut a promo recently with Drew McIntyre, and he was, he just had a monotone tone to his voice, and he was just talking normally like that. And a lot of that's lost nowadays. And same thing, like what you were saying, Gerard, a lot of, they said in the documentary, a lot of what Hulk Hogan was saying was Vince. Hulk, Tony Atlas said, Hulk and Vince are one and the same person. And, it's
a lot of the characters. I'll give you
I'm sorry, example. I love to do a good Tony Atlas impression. I'm sorry, I love Tony.
No, Mr. Perfect and Ted DiBiase, okay? two extensions of Vince McMahon that he couldn't do himself, but he got the two guys in this world who could not have done it any better.
Oh, yeah.
The Mr. Perfect character and the Ted DiBiase character
and
were probably an extension of Vince.
Go no further, Gerard, than whenever they talked in the documentary. You know what Vince's fucking loves were. He wanted the World Bodybuilding Federation. You know, like these are things
absolutely. Oh, I worked there during that time, and I'll tell you this right now. We couldn't get a lot of things for the wrestling thing because the money was going towards the World Bodybuilding Federation.
What I don't understand.
Can we just say how a little Vince had some gay tendencies, all right? You know, it's a little homoerotic, but that's okay. But like what you said, Gerard, like one of the things you said,
you wanted him to speak up, Gerard. You wanted him to be more boisterous. This is what you get.
But one of the things you said that I kind of disagree.
I want him to speak with kid, huh?
One of the things you said that I disagree with, Gerard, like about the documentary that I really wanted to know more about was Vince's childhood. And like, you know, one of the interesting things about the documentary was him talking about like his father, because we don't really know a lot about Vince and James McMahon, like really. Like the only thing we ever hear about, you know, the Vince Senior is like that he had a roller quarters that he liked to play with, and that's pretty much it. And he was a good businessman. But a lot of like
when I say just so you know, when I say his family, I mean Linda, Shane, and Stephanie. And the only reason I say that because I don't need to know about the grandkids. I don't need to know about granddaughters or grandsons. Put it this way: you bring those people into it, you're a scumbag. They have nothing to do with Vince McMahon, the Mr. McMahon. You start going after his grandchildren. I don't give a crap who you are. You keep them out of it. They had nothing to do with this business. They have nothing to do with that man. And if you've ever seen the way when people bring up those kids, he starts crying because how much he loves his grandchildren. And guess what? I don't give a crap how many people can say, hey, no, he's still a grandfather. Okay, that's family. Anything else? Anything to do with the business part of his family is fair game because that's business. Keep his personal life with his family out of it.
As much as I can't stand the man, you're right. I agree with you. My big issue with him was I'm a son, and I'm not going to sit here and try to compare childhoods, but I understand Shane wanting the love and adulation of a parent, and literally. You know, maybe I didn't throw myself off a fucking 20-foot fucking cage, but I can understand literally breaking your back to try to get the love of a father, of a parent. And I watched that, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm not ashamed to admit, I got emotional watching. My dad gave me a hug. I jumped off a fucking 20-foot scaffolding. But
that was probably the saddest thing about that.
Every one of us.
Yeah. Sorry, I mean to interrupt, but that was probably the saddest thing about that whole situation is just hearing, because we really don't see a lot. We haven't really seen a lot of the Vince-Shane relationship because Shane was gone for a long time.
And I'm glad when you say that, my wife, beautiful, brilliant fucking woman that she is, love you.
Rips.
Jacob says hi. So Gerard didn't say hi though. But no, I watched that. I fucking lost track of thought for a second there. But no, my wife brought up a beautiful fucking point, is that for years everybody thought that Shane had just taken his ball and gone home because he wasn't getting his way. He just left. And what was beautiful about this documentary, the only thing, and I agree with her, that I really enjoyed about this is that they really rectified and cleansed the fucking aura that was this negativity on Shane, because he didn't leave because he didn't care. He loved wrestling. He left because he loved his father so much he didn't want to destroy their relationship. I, when talking to her, took it a step further and said, no, I watched him come out for WrestleMania against Taker, and I watched him, and he looks at his sons, and I'm telling you right now, he tells his sons, it would be an honor to have you guys come out with me to the ring. And you see how happy he is. And he goes, these little guys are doing my moves. And I think to myself, good for you for leaving. Because I think he realized if he stayed there, he was going to become the same kind of father that his father was to him. And he didn't want that for his boys. You don't ever feel like that motherfucker doesn't love all three of his sons. Like I felt that so fucking much, and every time you see Shane and he talks about his boys, there's no like animosity. There's no like, oh, I need them to be this, and no, he loves those fucking kids. And I when I look at fucking Vince, that's what bothers me. Is you had an opportunity to come out here and be a fucking dad and not be your dad. You had a chance because your dad put you through hell and said, if you don't succeed in this, I never want to hear about you talking about the business again. Your dad left and divorced your mom, whatever it was, all those years ago. Your dad did that to you, and you monster have done the same thing to your kids. That's what bothered me. And I'm not going to.
Well, what's so weird about that too is just like, oh, sorry, I'll let Gerard speak. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
So when I worked there in their warehouse, forever sat a 4-wheel drive vehicle that Vince had bought for Shane with specific rules that he could only drive it certain places. Well, those rules weren't always followed. So that 4-wheeler ended up. So, it doesn't go enough into digging into his childhood, because when he says he did every part of the business growing up, I set up the rings with him. I set up the rings. I watched him referee. He would get on the road. He'd get in the car. He would do everything that he literally started from the bottom up.
And why did he do it, Gerard? Why did he do it?
Because he wanted to be part of the business, and his father said, "Fine, you want to be part of this? I'm not going to treat you any differently." Now on the road agents actually treated him almost stricter than everybody else, for the simple fact.
Grand scheme. Why did he do it for one man? He did it for the respect of his father,
and also because I think he had a legitimate interest to be involved in the business. Even when I first met him. Now, when I first met him, he might have been 18, 19 years old, and he wanted legitimately to be involved. Now, Vince didn't want him to be involved as much as he got to involve when he first started. He goes, okay, but if you're going to be involved, this is what you're going to do. Now, every summer, the summers that I worked, Shane only came around the summers because he went to Brown University in Rhode Island. So come summer, Shane come back. Come fall, he'd be right back to school. And they didn't go into that aspect to where he grew up doing normal young men stuff, high school, college, with wrestling only in the summertime. And it wasn't until after he graduated college and he had that degree to fall back on something. So it wasn't just handed to him to now he can come in. And by coming in, if you look at the video, he's sitting down with Vince. He's learning what his dad can teach him to do. So there was an appetite there too. And when you see them two hugging, when he comes back from the steel cage match, was that more of the forgiveness for him coming back from leaving? And, Vince basically accepting the fact that I made a mistake. We should have never gone this far, because it happens with fathers and sons and stuff like that. Hey, my son lives 2,000 miles away. We don't have a bad relationship. I like him 2,000 miles away, though. We get along very well because he's 2,000 miles away. But what I'm saying
is, anything like you, Gerard, I understand why.
Well, you saw him. You saw the video. But anyway, and that to me was always the thing to where when he first left, I understood why he left, because, hey, I can't do any more. And I don't think he left because of his father. I always believed he left because of his brother-in-law. Okay, where Shane always thought he was.
I was gonna kind of bring that up, Gerard. Not to interrupt you, but I think there's always kind of been an animosity between Shane and Triple H. I don't know to what level. It's probably died down nowadays, but I think there was always kind of a animosity there that's always going to be there.
And when you hear from the documentary, what's the one he'd say? She wasn't allowed to be around the boys. She wasn't allowed to date the boys and stuff like that. So I think, okay, now we went from dating to marrying. So now, and then it goes to him being in a role of authority to where it's like, okay, Dad, where am I fitting into this scheme? And he
felt replaced.
He felt replaced. So it's like, you know what? I'm not going to feel second fiddle to this, so I'm going to take.
Okay, so Gerard, that goes back to what I said. That's his fucking dad. Who the buck stops with Vince. So rather
What's
than
the two things you don't go into business with? Friends and family.
But he put in the work. Gerard, he put in
Vince
the work.
himself.
Gerard, he put in the work. You said it yourself. He
I
put in
understand
the
he put in the
fucking work. And you have a guy
in the work,
who's fucking the guy who's fucking my sister. No disrespect to Paul Levesque. He's done an amazing job. I'm not going to sit here and deny that Paul Levesque, Triple H, has not done an amazing job as far as being a wrestler, being in the business, doing everything. And yes, there was some chicanery as far as his relationship with Stephanie and Joni and whatever. That's not my business.
Listen, we're only talking about the past 4 years, though. I'm talking about, okay, so he left, whether 2011, 2010 or 2011 is when he left. I'm going up to that. Now, when he came back, okay, maybe the personal things that made him leave, him, Paul, Stephanie, and Daddy probably were able to work out. Because, listen, there's no such thing in the world of not only just sports entertainment as a functional family. Sure, we've seen this dysfunctional family for years, okay? And what goes on behind the scenes, and just not just storylines, but in reality, every now and then one person says, you know what, I'm done, I'm out, see you later, bye. And he just happened to be the one. Now, the shoes could have been reversed when Marissa came on. What if Marissa decided she wanted to take over Stephanie's spot? That's something that never been talked about, because she was an on-air talent before Hunter even started working there, if I'm correct. So he got an on-air talent. He married her. Why didn't she get the role that Stephanie got?
Because she wasn't going for that role. She wasn't shooting for that role. She wasn't trying to elevate herself to that role. She had a job.
But after she married Shane, she was off the air. She was done. She'd been a mom to their kids and stuff like that. And you know what? Every now and then you see it pop up on things, and she never accepted it. She never got back into the business. And that's why I'm saying, so we're in that fine line to where what they told us, what they've said, and then reality, we're in the middle. Should we say, okay, if you follow the things, was it more Triple H and Stephanie forcing Shane out, or saying Shane, hey, Daddy's going to do it because I'm not going to talk bad about my sister and my brother-in-law?
Okay,
to be fair, Vince has kind of always favored Stephanie a little bit more. To be fair,
I mean that is public opinion because of what we see. I can't say that knowing. I don't know the family like that. I was never around them. But from what public opinion would speculate, yeah, you could say that she's Daddy's little girl.
Are we dancing around the fact that he wanted to write a storyline where he was the father of her baby?
That is fucked.
Are we dancing around that? We're just not going to bring that up.
You had to bring it up. He had to go there, right?
Yeah, he did.
Listen,
we are talking about the documentary.
I could have gone the whole thing without going there, and I'll put it to you like this, okay? In his wisdom, he actually was the one to admit to it, and Stephanie, in her wisdom, didn't bring it up, or should I say, admit to it. And they talked about it. Right. I'm just saying, in his wisdom, at least he came out and said, "Yeah, not one of my better storylines." At least he admitted the fact it wasn't one of his better ones, because let's just say that plays out.
It's on in the chat, but it's one of those things that people always want to know about, and I'll ask you straight out.
Oh yeah, I saw it in the chat too.
So Gerard, you were there. I think highly of Randy. Did it happen?
Randy Savage?
Yeah. Did it happen?
Yep.
No.
What happened? What happened?
Stephanie?
Randy Savage.
Stephanie?
Stephanie's younger than me.
Stephanie and Randy? I understand.
No.
Stephanie and Randy. No, Stephanie and Randy.
When I was there, it was already. When I was there, no, because he was younger. She's younger than me. She was 17 years old the first time I met her, and that was at Royal Rumble 1992. She was 17.
So you don't know anything about that?
No.
Okay.
Now, could it have happened after I left? Could it have happened after I left? Absolutely.
Okay, so there,
But
we've
when I was
answered the
there, she was
question. All right, everybody get the fuck off. We answered the question. We don't know. All I know is that Gorgeous George says that Randy on a beach when they were relaxing one night said it happened.
My favorite story of Gorgeous George is when Insane Clown Bossy was doing a shoot interview, and they were like, "Yeah, we booked Gorgeous George," and she reached under her ass crack and said, "My ass stinks." And it's like that's the only thing I think of when I think of Gorgeous George.
Let me ask you a question: if you're on a beach with Gorgeous George and you're thinking of another woman, what the hell?
No. What happened was they were intoxicated on the beach. They were talking. She asked him if it really happened. He said, "Yeah." They talked about it. He passed the fuck out. They went home. He sobered up. He goes, "Did I tell you something last night?" And she goes, "Yep." And he goes, "Oh, okay." That was the end of that.
My question is when. My question would have been when, but was he still with Elizabeth when it happened? Was it after Elizabeth when it happened?
Fuck, I don't know. Was he? Could he have been? No, whenever they were splitting up, whenever they did the wedding angle, they were already splitting up. Oh God, don't make me sad.
No, because I was there for the wedding angle. Remember, that was at SummerSlam 90. Yeah, SummerSlam 91. She still wore that. And remember, I told you a story about how I had to go pick her up from the hotel room.
Yeah.
If I had to pick her up from the hotel room, they weren't split up.
I think that's just one of those questions that's always going to linger out there because, like, listen, when they did that Macho Man DVD, like, you know, right, like it was, I think, right after Macho died or like right before it, they were clearly trying to, you know, drum up interest because of that. They were just like, yeah. And then you had someone on there, I think it was Lanny Poffo himself, who was like, oh yeah, no, only, you know, you'd have to ask Stephanie or Macho Man. You know, I don't know what happened there. And it's like that's his own brother saying that. All I'm saying is,
we fucking asked the question. I ain't worried about it. Don't give a fuck. God rest him. Macho Man is a legend. I don't care. It's over. It's done.
Yeah.
Hey, by the way, let me ask you this: is there anything on Netflix, on this Netflix documentary with Vince, that you don't think A&E's not Dark Side of the Ring? What's the one where they do WWE Legends? Is there anything on that thing or Dark Side of the Ring that we didn't know about Vince to where it couldn't have just been an A&E?
No, and that's the most unfortunate thing about it is that they prompted us of like, oh, it's the, you know, no one really knows me. So it's just all like, you know, all of it's been publicized.
I think the reason why Vince is so upset, and again, y'all can agree or disagree, I think the reason why Vince is so upset about this whole fucking thing and allegedly wanted to buy the motherfucker back was because this was supposed to be his swan song. This was supposed to be about Vince McMahon being, you know, he did all this horrible, you know, but he had a reason and he was a great businessman and all this work. I'll never deny the motherfucker's work ethic, but he, you know, look, you can't polish up a turd and it not be a turd. He's still a fucking turd. And that's the problem. At the end of all this, he's out looking even worse. And what really fucking, if you think about it, is fucked, during the time of them doing these interviews, the Janelle Grant shit was going on. So the guy you're seeing right there is the guy that's shitting on homegirls' head.
Right on their heads. Now, is that... Now,
look at Gerard.
Now, here's the thing. Is that something like... Now, here's the thing. Now,
allegedly shitting on her head.
Was the shitting sexual or was it accidental? That's always the question I'm always.
Well, because at his age, he was older. He could have been wearing. He could be wearing Depends to control himself, and if he couldn't do it, if you do that uncontrollably, is that an accident? Hey, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do it, but you know my body says otherwise.
Now, do you think that's what caused her to do the? No, what caused her to do the lawsuit is because she was getting paid. Never mind, I answered my own question. Sorry.
And again, like, look, I'm not going to sit here and Gerard, you and I talked about this. I'm not going to sit here and say she's a victim. I'm saying that there was consensual, whatever it may be, whether it was for some of this right here or whether there was actual feelings there. She wasn't getting paid, so her ass is coming back to get her fucking dough.
Hey, let me put it to you this way: if I was hooking up with an old chick and she shat on my head and she was supposed to be paying me and then she didn't, I'll lawsuit my damn self. I probably would too. So,
Jacob, how close are you to Las Vegas?
Oh, I live in Phoenix, so I'm about like 4 hours away.
Okay, so pretend like somebody going to the Bunny Ranch. You go in, you do what you do, And then the woman who you have sex with in the bunny ranch calls the cop and said, "Hey, he hasn't paid me yet." That basically, in my eyes, is Janelle Grant right now, to where everybody makes her out to be a victim. A victim.
Ah, bullshit.
Now,
I would never call her a victim. Now I will say Ashley
no,
Mazzaro,
no,
100%.
I'm saying, here's my thing about it: consensual adult relations. Look at the things they're trying to defend for her, but look at the evidence on the other side. There's always two sides to every story, and the story that people believe first is whoever hits the story first. So if Vince had put out this story first, and then she put out her story second.
Well, let me ask you about this then, Gerard. Hold on, because you got Laurinaitis coming out, and at first was an all agreement. I was a victim. My name is Johnny Ass, and I'm a victim. And he shit on me too. Damn it!
Hey, listen, he needs to go back to people power, and
people power.
But he's a shameless excuse, and I'm not just saying that because I'm sticking up. He's sticking up, changing his story for Vince and stuff like that. His biggest problem is this: he never made it the way his brother did, and he's always been bitter about it.
No, how dare you? He was a dynamic dude.
He what?
He was a dynamic dude.
Hey, listen to this though. Hey, listen to this. John Laurinaitis has main evented a pay-per-view in WWE. Road Warrior Animal. Road Warrior Animal has it. So it's true. Hey, you can't.
Wait, hold on. No, who had a longer career, more established career, and more respected career?
Hold on, we can't talk about the end of Road Warrior Animal's career. That leather chaps gimmick was just not cutting it.
No. I said who had a longer and better career.
Hey, put it to you this way: John Laurinaitis versus John Cena has drew more still than AEW Dynamite. So
you shut the fuck.
Okay, sorry, I'm always gonna hate on AEW. Always, come on, it's my trademark. TM.
I'll put it like this: I have a relative of mine who enjoys AEW, and I say to him all the time, AEW is enjoyable if you want to watch quick, fast, no storyline matches. Okay, Tony Khan will promise you, hey, we're gonna have this guy. Okay, Tony, where does it go from there? Oh, next week we're just going to have that guy go against somebody else.
You're going to say no storylines? You didn't enjoy fucking the Cowboy against Swerve Strickland? That whole fucking program was excellent.
Well, how long did it last for? How long?
It was still a good fucking program.
No, what? You had Swerve. You had Hangman drink Swerve's blood. And then
let me put it like this. I
see someone in the chat. I see Will in the chat saying I watched too much Cornette. Shut up, Will. It's not true. Haven't watched Cornette in about 5 weeks. Ha ha. No, but
speaking of Cornette, my wife brought that up. Why the fuck wasn't Jim Cornette in this documentary?
Because he'd be too honest.
Not enough money. They probably didn't offer him enough money.
Yeah, plus, you'd have to. They don't want to go to Cornette's house. He'd probably have to go somewhere, and Cornette doesn't ever leave the house, so it's probably that.
Look, man, all you got to do is fuck money. All you have to do is bring that motherfucker 3 Wendy's cheeseburgers and a large fucking.
No, hey, first of all, you can't put the cameras in the trailer park. Okay, he probably lives in a double.
Hey, bro, come on, bro. What about his best friend, bro?
Don't talk. Listen,
why didn't they get bro?
Listen, don't get me going on Vince Russo. No,
I never saw Vince personally do shit, bro. But let me tell you, it's a little suspect, bro. I never saw it, bro. But it's a little.
I'm telling you, Vince may have done some stuff, bro, but I didn't see it, bro.
I didn't personally see it, bro. I was too busy creating the Attitude Era, bro.
Put it this way, he was so busy creating the Attitude Era, he killed WCW.
I was a plant for Vince to kill every other fucking organization.
People say that I was a plant, bro, and I said, put the title on me, bro.
Viagra
I'll wear
on
a football helmet in the middle of the ring, bro.
Hey, the destruction of WCW was almost better than the Netflix thing about Vince.
Bro.
We're talking about the guy who created the reverse battle royal, bro. Hey, here's the thing, bro. We're going to have 10 people outside of the ring, and their goal, bro, is to get inside the ring. Instead of going over, we're going in, bro.
You know what the sad part is about that? People used to get arrested for trying to do that. Hey, I want to get into the ring. No, they get arrested before you can get in. The cops arrest you.
Hold on. We're gonna have Buff Bagwell's mom on a scaffold.
On a scaffold, bro.
We're gonna
have Viagra on a pole. Viagra on a pole, bro. You're not gonna get any erection.
Hold on. We're gonna put Buff Bagwell's mom on a forklift, bro. We're gonna have Buff fight to save his mom. It writes itself, bro.
It writes itself, bro. You know, you're gonna have Buff trying to get his mother. What kind of drama is that, bro? Like we're talking multiple ratings, bro.
We're gonna have a random fucking Humvee, bro. We're gonna have a random Hummer, bro. We're never gonna know who drives it, but we're gonna talk about it for almost a year, bro.
You know what? When I see all that stuff, and I say, when Eric Bischoff comes out and he says, I should have let WWF drive that tank into my building. Okay? Yep, you should have. The problem is, though, you would have put WWF over, and your show would have still sucked.
Well, see, and that's the thing. They didn't acknowledge the great things they had. Those cruiserweights, Eddie Guerrero, Chris Jericho, all those guys, fucking amazing. And there was too many fucking Chiefs and not enough Indians.
But where do you go, though? And you know, a lot of times I'll talk about where do you go with that, though? Where do you go?
Well, they were in there, and the name that should not, everyone says we can't say, but Chris Benoit winning the world title was a hell of a start.
Listen, I was in the Boston Garden when him versus Kurt Angle, Royal Rumble 2002. I was in the Boston Garden. Best technical wrestling match I've ever saw. I don't care for how Chris Benoit finished his life. What he did in the ring.
What do you mean? What happened?
What he did in the ring, he made other guys better just because of his work in the ring.
I think Paul.
I will never, ever put a pat on the back somebody who takes out his wife, his kid, in the way he did it. I'm not putting it back on the way he ended his personal life.
I love how Paul Heyman put it. Paul Heyman put it in that interview. He said, as far as in-ring work, one of the greatest fucking talents I've ever seen in my life. Wanted him to be my ECW champion in WWE. As a human being, fuck him. And if that's your guy, fuck him. He said 3 people died that night. 2 people didn't have a choice. And that's how I feel. Look, I know that there are a lot of there's a lot of Chris Benoit apologists out there, and that's great. You know what? Whatever. If you have proof and you can fucking exonerate him one day, great, good for you. Until then, fuck him. You say he's CTBs, all that shit, whatever. The motherfucker, as far as I know, killed his fucking child, son, and his wife. It's what I saw. It's what I see.
Well, and it's just like fucking like Hulk Hogan recently came out like, oh, people can forgive Chris Benoit, brother. I think they could forgive me. And it's just like, who are these people that have forgiven Chris Benoit? Has Nancy's sister forgiven Chris Benoit? I don't think so. And it's sad, it's unfortunate because how good of a wrestler Chris Benoit was. It's unfortunate, but what's more unfortunate is that he ended the life of his wife and his son. Like, it's like people talk about Benoit like, oh yeah, he had all these accolades, but people. No,
and again, I can separate.
I'm going to tell you something,
man. A lot of people, I can separate the two. A lot of people can't, and that's the thing. I don't judge people who can't separate the two.
Here's a word that's not used often. Here's a word that's not used often, but I'm going to put it often. To sum up Vince McMahon in his documentary, it comes across as very selfish. All about me world, what I want, what I need. And Chris Benoit is what he wanted, what he needed. dude, if you want to take a gun and put it in your mouth and shoot yourself, go at it. If you want to take a rope and hang yourself because that's what you want to do to get
I believe it was a Bowflex.
No, I'm giving you an example. You want to take a rope, put it around your neck, and hang yourself, and that's how you want to get out of your life, go ahead and do it. But to do it to other people too, just because you want to be selfish in life, don't take other people with you. You want to be selfish, you be selfish, you go and do it.
So I didn't mean to laugh right there. I just laughed at the fact that Dan pointed out that it was a Bowflex and not a rope. I'm sorry. It's not funny.
Going back to the Vince stuff, there's some stuff that I do get heated about too. Owen Hart, and nothing about that is good. Nothing about like him saying, if it was me, I would want you to just wipe me off the ring and just keep going. You're full of shit, Vince. A man died that night, and his last words were him trying to tell the referee to get out of the way because he was worried about somebody else. The blood was still on the mat, and I don't know y'all's opinion on it, but again, you stop the fucking show. You stop the fucking show.
Yeah, there's really no positive spin you could ever really put on that situation, really, because it was an avoidable situation. There was really no to begin with because of you just look at where the Blue Blazer was at the time. You didn't need to do, and if you look into the what was going to happen that day, he was going to have Max. I think Max Mini was the name of the. I don't know. He was going to have a mini Blue Blazer on his back, and they both were going to do they both were going to do the stunt that day, and it was a whole unnecessary thing that didn't need to happen, and it's just there's no positive spin you could really put on it. I'm in the camp of you'll never really know what happened. There's a lot of rumors, there's a lot of people saying Owen hit the quick release too early, or that he pulled the cord too early, or that he never pulled the cord, or that it was
Would Shawn Michaels be up in that same fucking harness?
See, that's the thing. I don't know. Would Vince have kept the show going if Triple H or Shawn was the one that propelled?
I'll quote Brett. I'll quote Brett. If it was Shane that had fallen.
Yeah, if it was Shane, I don't know. See, I think Shane, he would have kept the story. I think Shane would have kept it going. I don't think Stephanie, though. Stephanie, I think he would have. Yeah.
What about you, Gerard? Where are you at with this?
So when it comes to keeping the show going, when was the last time before this incident happened where somebody died in the ring? That would have been my first thought. Because this is another case of the internet not being totally around back then, to where you don't know you can't see immediate reaction what's going on. Did he make up with the Chris Benoit? So he gets crucified for the Chris Benoit thing for not canceling for canceling the show. Okay, he gets crucified for it when nobody knew what was going on with this incident. When it comes to the Owen Hart thing, is it tragic that it happened? Absolutely. But when the emotions are running the way it was, could he have canceled when Jerry Lawler had his incident and they took all announcing off the air? Okay, that was a tribute. That was something for Jerry Lawler because of for 45 minutes it was empty mic. You stopped talking. You just watched the show. Where is the line? Because what gets to me nowadays is you see football players go down, get hurt. They'll cancel games because the football player got hurt. Everybody who does this goes into it knowing that there risks involved. Yes. Did Owen's risk have to be taken? No. Could more have been done to properly harness him? Yes. The entertainment aspect of him coming down, I get it. Should it have been more checked into? If you guys ever see WCW, sometimes Sting would come down with 2 lines.
Yeah.
In case one snapped, he'd have a second one. Why the rigging company who set this? I do put some blame on the rigging company too.
It's because it's all around, absolutely.
Right. They're the ones. They're the masters. My only thing is, has Vince ever come out and said, I never tried it? Because most of the time, anytime you hear every wrestler talk about it, he would never ask you to do something if he didn't do it himself first.
But beyond that, Gerard, their blood was still on the fucking mat.
Which to me, when I saw that the other night, my first thought is today, a woman's makeup gets rubbed on the mat the wrong way. The very next, they go to commercial break. You got a new mat. You never even see the makeup anymore.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like they didn't have like people cleaning up the mat back then.
No,
or like
you're having and you wheeled him out in front of everybody.
They didn't, like I said, they didn't have the 3 or 4 canvases, and I think that right there changed their way they did with the canvases to where they add.
Even then, like I said, you're sitting guys out there who knew this guy, who loved him. Case in point, I'm not the biggest Jeff fan. I'm not JEFF. I'm not the biggest Jeff Jarrett fan, but
bite your tongue, good sir. Again, oh my god,
to watch him
disrespect the last outlaw.
Hey, don't talk. Hey, do we talk about Deborah here too? Can we talk about Deborah?
To watch him do his interview after his passing and how emotional he got. They were friends. They were close.
Well, JR too. JR, what's the update? He's dead, and you're back in 5.
Yeah, look what they did. Yeah.
Well,
it's like this was this guy. Like he was like that's what sucks about Owen. More than any. Well, not more than it, but like a big part of it was just of how beloved he was in the backstage.
And on top of that, they had the gimmick. You had to sit here and tell me that Blue Blazer character wasn't a punishment for everybody else leaving.
Well,
but much like Triple H, he was the one who stayed.
Well,
he got all the fucking heat.
The other thing about Owen too is, so before he became Owen Hart, I actually did see him as a Blue Blazer gimmick. Okay. When it happened to him, look at what happened. It's not so much what happened that night in Kansas City. Look what happened the next night. Look at the testimonials from the wrestlers. How many, and everything the next night was a voluntary basis. They all volunteered. Anybody who wrestled on that show, it was a voluntary thing. And look at the way the crowd reacted. Okay? Now, $18 million. Only $18 million. And my thing about that is it was bad at the time, but now you have a woman who's promoting him in a company he had nothing to do with to make money off of it. If the money that was being made off that tournament was being donated to some kind of good charitable cause, guess what? He didn't die in vain. But now you're out there making a buck because the money that you got from the WWF is gone. So now you need the money because now you got grown kids. Yeah, they can't have their father back. You should never profit off that tragedy either, though. That's the part of it that they need to talk more about. Why profit off of it?
I'm glad you said something, Gerard, because I was gonna roundabout way get to it because the fact that Martha Hart is even in AEW, like they have people drinking people's blood. They had the one segment where they had Martha Hart come out, and then the same segment they had Darby Allin just jump off a 30-foot ladder, just blatantly right onto Jeff Hardy. Like the segment.
Who came down with the? Who came down? Did
Darby
Sting come down?
I think it was Darby
came down
too.
with the rope.
Yeah,
it's like on the same show, if I'm right.
Yeah,
he came out on the rafters on the same show that she's promoting the Owen Hart tournament. It's like, wait a minute. So now you're part of a company who let somebody do exactly what you claim your husband died of.
And here's the thing that kind of like not like I could get it because again Owen Hart was it was Martha's husband, it was Owen Hart Jr.'s dad, I get it, but they were like wrestling was not all that he was, and wrestling took him away from us, and it's just like wrestling didn't really take him away. It was kind of a faulty because wrestling was a big part of Owen Hart, but maybe I don't know what his personal life was, but it's just like to me it always kind of came across like Martha Hart always kind of pushed this whole wrestling is bad narrative,
Remember
and,
this,
kind of always
back in those days. Okay, you didn't have the guaranteed contracts you have nowadays either. So the more you worked on the road, the more money you made. Okay, so in his mind, he wanted to be on the road more so he could make more money to take care of his family. So if you're on the road more to make more money and you're away from your family. Now, when I worked there, you had 10 days on, 3 days off. 10 days on, 3 days off, 10 days on, 3 days off. That was a revolving cycle. That was a Friday to a Monday. You'd have Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday off. Then it'd be another Friday to a Monday. Okay. And those guys love doing house shows because the more you do the house show, you get a percentage of the gate. The Hart family, think about it. The two brothers, once Brett left to go to WCW, Owen stayed. You don't think he's not trying to now outmake his brother Brett? Because Brett took the money and
that's what I'm talking about. Like, he was a company guy.
Yeah.
And so
Was he a company guy?
why would you do?
Was he a company guy, or I need to provide for my family guy?
No, and I feel you, but you're not going to tell me that WCW wasn't going to offer him more. That's another slap in the face to Vince. And at that time, hell yeah, they're going to want all the kinds of money to fucking get on.
Oh, no, because in 1999, hey, remember, in 1999, WCW had already started to come down, and WWF was going through the roof.
Well, what they did was fucking Owen gave Brett a hell of a contract.
Well, and I think Owen already had like a deal prior to Brett leaving or something like that. It had to have been like or maybe he signed a new deal during that time.
Because in the Netflix thing, don't they ask Owen, "Are you staying or going?" And Brett, I think, talked him into staying or something like that. Now,
I think
come out.
I think the whole situation with that is just fucked up to begin with, because Brett has gone on the record. He hasn't talked to Owen's kids or Martha in 25 years almost, or 30 years.
If you hear the thing right, once the restraint company got found liable, that's when Brett forgave Vince. Because if you look at the Netflix thing, he forgave him because because he goes, all right, it wasn't Vince's fault, so I can start the forgiveness process. To where, hey, he thought it was a get back at him, but when the other company got found liable for the strap and not the harness not being proper, to Brett's credit, he goes, hey.
Yeah, and I can see your point. I do, but ultimately, whose idea was it for him to have his ass up there for a fucking less than mid-card gimmick?
I mean, a lot of the discourse. Well, a lot of what I think really is, Owen could have said no. Owen could have just not done it.
Okay, you're very right. You're very right.
And what I think is,
favorite guy. I go back to your favorite guy, Tony Atlas. I'll go
back. Who are you gonna complain to? He's the Booker.
Mr. Booker,
If you
man.
ever seen the movie Multiplicity with Michael Keaton?
Yes.
When the guy Steve, who he gets the masculine brother, he gets the sensitive brother, then he gets Steve. She touched my pee-pee, Steve. That's Tony.
That's Tony Atlas, number one. Just add enough. He used to grab my pecker. He used to what? He used to grab my pecker. Who am I going to complain to? He's the Booker.
What? Go to Vince? You obviously don't know the business, son.
Oh my God, my favorite. See, here's the thing. I love Tony Atlas the most, and again, like,
how the fuck is he walking around with on sleeves still, man? You're not Mr. Whatever. You're not that man.
I pitched that when they were doing this whole when Paul Heyman. Sorry, we're going off topic a lot, but when Paul Heyman got kicked out of the Bloodline recently, I'm just like, you just put Tony Atlas in there. He's the new wise man. I want to talk about Solo Sikoa. And it's the greatest thing ever. Is my favorite thing ever, by the way, is when New Jack would impersonate Tony Atlas. It's the greatest thing ever. Like, he's just like, oh, I was there when he killed the Bruiser Brody.
When I heard Tony Atlas say that Pat would go around and grab his pecker, okay, you're gonna have people out there say, what the hell? But did he only do it with Tony Atlas? Now, Pat Patterson, everybody knows, was openly gay. Where was the line between him playing locker room ribs and the other part of it lie?
Well, Cornette just came out and said it was like he defended Pat on that.
Locker room ribs. Like I said, locker room ribbing.
And I get it. Okay, look, I understand. And if I'm one of the boys, I understand what you're saying. But, Gerard, I like you. You're my buddy. I consider you a friend. If we're in the locker room, you grab me in the dick and punch you in the fucking face. I'm just going to be honest with you. You grab me by the dick, I'm punching you in the face.
Never going to grab someone by his pecker.
Let me tell you one thing, okay? I wouldn't be in a man. I try and find a separate locker room. I try and find the separate. Even when I worked on the road, I tried to find a separate locker room because I just never knew who you can and who you cannot trust. Not because of the gay thing and something like that. I've never had a problem with homosexuality.
Hey, I don't think you're gay. It has nothing to do with being gay. It has nothing to do with straight. If it's a rib and you punch, if your rib is to grab me by the dick, I'm okay. My rib is to punch you.
That's a hell of a rib.
No. What I'm saying is,
impractical jokers, go grab that guy's dick.
Well, and what I'm saying, what my thing about that is like this, okay? To know Pat, if you knew Pat, and the last time I actually spoke with that man, we had a 1-hour conversation, and the night that I met and refereed for Kurt Angle, me and him just sat on the side and we had a 1-hour conversation about the business, about things that had happened in my life prior to this one show. And all he ever conferred to me was, I'm sorry it ever happened, but everybody has to do what they got to do for the business. And I totally got what he's saying, totally understood it. But the way that man could talk to you and make you understand how things worked, not to where the point is, hey, if you don't do what I say, you're not going to get done. But I'm saying to you, hey, there is a pecking order, no pun intended. Okay?
Pecking, not pecker order.
And there is, like in everybody's job, a way to go about doing things the right way. If you have a problem, like Tony Atlas claims he didn't have to just go to Pat or Vince. There was other people he could have talked to about it that would have talked. And hey, because I'll tell you this right now, people think Vince is this monster, always a monster, but he still wanted to protect his company. And if you heard it right, Linda McMahon was the business of the business person of the two. You and Vince was the wrestling creative guy. If a story went back to Linda that could end up affecting business, it didn't matter how Vince felt about it, because she would talk to him and say, listen, this can't happen. This affects business. Vince always uses the line of what's best for business. He also was a man behind the scenes to say, hey, if this gets out, it's not what's best for business. And it always costs me money.
All we have to go by, us two up top and many fucking marks like us, we weren't there. Gerard, you have the benefit of that. But for other people that didn't have that benefit, I see a guy telling me that another man grabbed me by the dick. Okay, fuck you, I'm punching you in the fucking mouth. And
especially a guy like Pat Patterson, too.
Hey, I'll give you two guys who are perfect examples of that, and two guys who, Chief Jay Strongbow and George Myers. Okay, Jim Myers. Chief Jay Strongbow, Jim Myers, otherwise known as George the Animal Steel. There was no screwing around on their watch. Okay, none, zero. Something came out to their attention that could affect the business. They were on the phone with the boss. Okay. Black Jack Lanza and Tony Garea, you might get away depending on the severity of it. But in all the cases, some of them would run right to the phone, or they take it at the end of the night. Because at the end of every night, at the end of every show, in our building back then, there were pay phones. For all you people who don't know what a pay phone is, you picked up the phone, put money in, and had to actually dial the phone number, and they would call Vince. After every show, there was a phone call to Vince. Vince was only around every 21 days for televisions. That's all he ever did back in those days. He was on the road for TVs, that's it. Other than that, he was always in the office. In the beautiful Titan Tower, Linda was in the north office on the 4th floor. Vince was in the south office on the 4th floor, on the same side of the building. One hallway separated them two. Okay, it went Linda's office, Pat's office, Terry Garvin's office, and there was one in the middle, and then Vince's office. But that was it. That was the whole row of offices. And Vince and Linda's extensions, most people who worked for the company had their direct extensions. Never mind, you would call the main number. Oh, let me transfer. No, if you knew them well enough, you could call. Every one of the boys had the numbers. Tony Alice could have picked up the phone and called.
I mean, I agree with you in the sense that there's always going to be another side of that story we don't know, and that's fine. Just like this entire documentary.
Now, the one thing about this documentary that, if you guys heard, somebody came out and said not every wrestler got Vince's cell phone number. Until you became his champion, you didn't get his number. Which to me kind of surprised me for the simple fact of all these athletes work for you, but the only person who gets your personal number is your champion, who can call you anytime he wants to. What's that go to say to you?
That he doesn't have control.
A lot of it, I think just a lot of it, honestly, is just Stockholm syndrome, dude. I just think it's just like a mild form of Stockholm syndrome, because you have John Cena on there saying how much of a father figure Vince is, and then you have The Rock saying the same thing, and then you have a lot of Vince likes to build these father-son relationships.
I love that, and I can't. When you said that is where I was going to go, because we're getting to about that. We're at about an hour and 45 minutes.
We're almost about 2 hours in, man. We're chilling.
What I will say is we're gonna come back next week because we'll be back doing this again. But as far as this goes, the one thing that I killed me, and it is going back to Shane. That guy worked so hard to get the love of his father. But I feel like you have John Cena, The Undertaker, every fucking guy, The Rock, everybody's saying how Vince was such a father figure to him. But he was too busy being a father figure to everybody else that he couldn't be a father figure to his own fucking son. That's what left me at the end of that documentary. Gerard, you may have a different take on that, and I completely understand. But that's what I see. He says he's being someone who's been brought up in that kind of fucking world. All you want is your parent to treat you like a son or their child, but they're too busy giving a fuck about everybody else's kids.
And that's where the separation of family and business comes into play. Unfortunately for Shane, that's where the separation of family and business came into play. And, who was the top ticket at the time? That's
my boy.
Wait, listen, that's the heart of that man. Who's making me my most money? And it's sad to say, who's making me my most money? It takes his son leaving and coming back. And no, legitimately, at that hug,
his son had to become a draw for him to show him love. That's how fucked up this guy is.
And what I'm saying is, look at the tears in his eyes after WrestleMania, and he does the cage and stuff like that. Look at the tears in his eyes. You can't fake that. Listen, how many of us? You think about it. I wish I could have. I dragged my father one time to a WWF match in a building in my hometown. He stayed for 3 matches, walked out the door, because he was that he felt that ashamed. Because he didn't help me get there. I was able to do it without his help. And it wasn't, when I found out that he had done it, but he would go to his local bar whenever he wanted to go to it. He would sit on Saturday mornings, watch TV, and be proud because he could tell people in that bar, that's my son, on the TV screen. He couldn't see me doing it live, but he could watch me doing it on TV. And when I found this story out, it didn't piss me off. It actually made me kind of, okay. I knew at that point I had succeeded in my life on my own.
I think it should be the fucking joy of every father's life to watch their child succeed. Every parent's dream in life should be their child succeeding and one day surpassing them. and you have a guy in Shane who busts his ass, jumps off a 20-foot fucking cage onto a fucking whatever, a gimmick table, and that's what it took for his fucking dad to finally acknowledge him. How fucked is that? And then for him to go in the documentary, well, I've always respected and loved my son. No, you didn't. Dude,
my question is, on that right there, what's their relation? Take away the Netflix, what we saw. What's their relationship like today? If it helped the relationship, if it helped it, then it was worth it every bit to Shane. If it helped that relationship, because we all know, father to son, once you get, you might have had this with your dad, once you get to that point in life, like, he ain't going to talk to me like that anymore. But you realize, oh, crap. You realize it's like there's a point in every father and son's life to where you overtake that part of the man, and to where it no longer becomes the fact of how can you please your father, because now your father just walks around, that's my boy.
My father and I had, I can only tell the personal side of things. My father and I had that moment. I had become, in his eyes, a man. And we sat there, and he looked at me, and he pulled out a bottle of tequila. Go figure, fucking Hispanics. And he poured 2 shots, and he looked at me, and he said, your entire life I've been hard on you because I'm not your fucking friend. I'm your father. I'm your daddy. I'm here to make you a better man. I'm here to prepare you for the world. As of today, you're a man. And today I can be your friend. Today, we're on equal ground, and you go out there and you show this world what I've taught you. He was hard on me, but I always knew why. And I respected him more for being hard on me. When I look at this stuff with Vince and Shane, no, you were bullying your fucking son. And until your son was worth enough to you to make money off of, that's when you showed him love. That bothered me.
The product of my semen, my son Shane.
Hey, that I get. I'm just asking, what is that relationship like? They didn't go into what the relationship like is now.
Yeah.
Because they filmed most of the interviews like before any of the scandal shit came out. So that's why, right. To me, I kind of figured the documentary was going to be obsolete anyways, because I don't think that they were going to do any hard, because they're not. The only new interview really that they had was Bruce, ass kiss Pritchard, in there, and it was
Vince's grapefruits out your mouth, fucking Pritchard, Jesus.
And well, you got to look at where Bruce is coming from, because my wife was given 2 weeks to live, and Vince, helped me out, and now that was 24 years ago. So if you want to talk about the man, Vince McMahon, then because you got to talk about my Bruce Pritchard's not as good as my Russo, but.
Let me tell you something, brother.
Now, that being said, and everybody, we've had fucking almost 2 hours. We was only supposed to go fucking, an hour 30 at tops. But like, I love talking to you guys. And I'm glad we get to share this with everybody, right? This
beautiful.
Is actually, we'll figure out what we're going to talk about next week. I'm sure it is the world of wrestling, after all. It does rotate.
For one thing I want to close up with, guys. And Dan knows the story. For anybody out there listening, okay, I was able to get back into the ring.
I was going to bring that up. Damn, that's where I was going.
Last Friday,
I didn't want to end this on a sad note, all this Vince shit. Okay. I want to bring up, and like I said, I couldn't get the fucking photo to work, but we'll post it in my community tab and all this. Our lovely fucking co-host, Gerard Millette here, got to get back in the fucking ring and referee.
And after 37 years, I got to meet the icon Sting. We actually had a nice little conversation. I got back into the ring. I was able to referee 2 matches in a place called Worcester, Massachusetts, Polar Park.
Polar Park Wrestling, shout out to them.
No, Big Time Wrestling. Big Time Wrestling. So it was a big time wrestling show. But it wasn't the wrestling part of it that I am most proud of. I was able to do something for a firefighter in the arena, which 25 years ago, about in Worcester, Massachusetts, there was a fire where 6 firefighters lost their lives. Dennis Leary, the comedian, lost a family member in this fire. Well, during the course of the show, I found out this firefighter is working as security in the arena. I was able to secure a shirt from the baseball team that we were able to put on Matt Riddle. At the end of the event, I was able to get it to where Matt Riddle and his opponent, Elias, got this firefighter into the ring, and they signed the shirt with this guy wearing it in the ring. His name was Angelo, and he did not want the accolades at first. This is what I was told by the building people. I said, well, let me talk to him and let me explain how I want to present this. Angelo came down. I presented how we're going to do it. He was extremely appreciative. When that man walked out of the ring and I said to him, you going to have that shirt framed? He's like, absolutely. And my thing about it is this is what the wrestling business is about. This is what it should be about. Stories like that to where the common person that shows up at an event, whether you're sitting up in the last row of the balcony or the front row, you should leave that show feeling the exact same way. And if you could have that special moment, no matter who it could be with, it could be a father-son bonding, father-daughter bonding, or whatever it could be, have that special moment. Live vicariously what you see on TV and take it for what it's worth. Always remember it's entertainment until reality happens. It really happened. It is online with Matt Riddle holding up the shirt. He couldn't produce it tonight, but I just wanted to go there with that.
And I will definitely post the pictures of Matt Riddle with the firefighter. I do have that photo. It's going to be in our community to have right after we finish here. Gerard, when you told me that story, I felt like, it needed to be told. And that's why I wanted to save that for the end. And what you said is beautiful. And you're absolutely right, Gerard, that as much as there is negativity in the wrestling business, all three of us are here because of the wrestling business. And that's like, I've had some of my I want you to know, when we decided to put this together, I was pretty much done with the idea of doing a wrestling podcast. I talked to Jacob a couple times about it after me and Gerard had talked, and I knew he would be the perfect fit because he's a great kid. If you have never seen Jacob and how passionate he is about wrestling, you really need to check it out. Gerard, in talking to him, it was supposed to be just a one-time conversation. We were going to post an interview, but Gerard has a way of getting into your fucking life, and he doesn't want to go. He's like a fucking squatter of your brain. He's an amazing guy, and I am grateful for the time I've spent talking to Gerard. This is, talking about wrestling. This is a shoot. Gerard didn't know I was going to say any of this. Jacob didn't know I was going to say any of this, but it needs to be said. Gerard, I need to thank you because you have relit a positive in my life as far as wrestling, and I had forgotten how much I loved wrestling. But your jokes and the shit you talk and everything that we've just bullshit about, even though it came from a negative situation, your positivity and your fucking just fucking with me and my wife and I want you to know.
Wait till you show the videos.
I want you to know how much you have meant to us as far as introducing yourself and bringing this together. And it's led to us having Jacob here. And Jacob, I got nothing but love for you and everything that you are as a person. I know that some of the projects we've tried to work on before fell through, and I'm a stronger proponent and belief in faith and fate. And I think that we're here because those weren't supposed to happen. This was supposed to happen. This has been so fucking natural. We're literally fucking 50 seconds from the 2-hour mark, and it's gone by.
2 hours, brother.
And so if this is the only show we do, which I'm hoping it's not, if we do 1 million shows, I don't care. I love the fact that I got to sit here with both of you beautiful bastards talking about one of the things that I love more than anything else in the world, and that is wrestling.
Well, look at all this. He's in his 20s. You're in your 30s. I'm in my early 50s. So we have 3 different generations, okay? Most others, a bunch of old guys.
Yep.
Ripping and complaining.
We could be like Conrad Thompson, on here. Gotta subscribe to, the local network of this, and that. And, Rick, tell me about that time, that you. It's terrible. Yeah.
Anyway.
Just so you guys know, Having the privilege of working with Mr. Ric Flair was always a privilege, because regardless of what you think of him, the way he would show up to the office in his best suit. Now, when he said he had the suits on, he actually came with suits, dressed to the nines and stuff like that. So having the ability to work with him.
Michael's in Kansas City. Michael's in Kansas City.
Rick is the best. I love Rick. I'll never talk bad about Ric Flair.
Yeah, you're right, Gerard. You know, we're going to be another topic we're going to get into next week. But you're right. Man lived his gimmick, 100%.
Hey, think about it. Living the gimmick compared to living the gimmick in the kayfabe world to where living the gimmick today, where you can't do it anymore. And I honestly believe that's the reason why Undertaker probably totally retired, because his gimmick is just, he can't do it. He can't do it the way he wanted to do it anymore, other than the amount of surgeries the guy's going through.
Yeah.
He couldn't hide nothing anymore.
And you really just you don't really have a lot of character-based guys these days anyways. It's just a lot of there's no gimmicks and there's no characters anymore besides Danhausen out there. They're out there. That's really the only one.
You're gonna get us to another 2-hour fucking spieling.
There we go. Let's do it.
You talked about Jake Roberts earlier. Here's the thing: would that fly today? Would somebody bring in a live?
And that is Gerard. Damn it, that is a question we'll answer next week. That being said, I'm Dan.
Good segue.
I'm Dan. That's Jacob. Gerard, always a pleasure. We are the Marks, and we'll see you next week.